So that's an interesting one for an interview. What are some of the key reasons, the most common reasons for a team to fail its commitment? So we'll talk about the sprint goal as a commitment, this commitment in a sprint. What are some of the common reasons? Well, actually the most common is actually they don't have one. You can't fail it because you don't have one, but that team needs something to aim for. And we have this conversation in the CSM and actually the ACSM and CSP, so the more advanced courses. Does a team need a sprint goal? Does it need to commit to something? Does it need a sprint goal? Maybe not. I'll be honest. Maybe it is just a random selection of work that has to be done. Okay? Such is life. Let's deal with the realities rather than the theory. Sometimes it's just a bunch of stuff. There's no cohesive reason to get it all done other than we are paid to get stuff done. Those teams struggle. It's just a fact of life that it's going to happen. They struggle because they don't have that commitment, that cohesive thing. They may be good, they could be better with it. So for me, the number one reason people struggle is actually because they don't have it. They don't have a combined sense of purpose. And when I'm talking to people in those classes, you have to acknowledge it. It's going to happen. Okay, that's the state of play of where you are. It's not where we want to be, but it is where we are. We may as well deal with reality. What's the most important thing to be done this sprint? Could that be your commitment? As a team, we commit to get that item or those 3 items done. All the other stuff we want to get done as well, but we're going to treat it like filler. Those 3 become critical. Everything else, if actually you couldn't pick and choose, look outside of the product. What do you as a team want to be? What could you commit to? We commit to getting what we said done. Bit iffy, but maybe it's what you need. At least focus on the outcome if you look at that. What are you trying to achieve with those items? Commit to that. We want to achieve this change in our product. We want to sweep up all the leavings from the last few sprints and really round out this product. That could be a good enough goal. But let's assume you do have a goal, you do have that sprint goal, that commitment to play around with. What else gets in the way? Very often, I'm going to be looking at sprint planning. Okay. Teams that are new when they come into sprint planning will fall into one of 2 camps, in my experience. The first camp are those who get in and get out as quick as possible. And the second are those who stay around and they try and stay around and outstay their welcome. The first camp, they get in, they find out what the work is. Hopefully they pull the work from the backlog, but they work with the product owner, right, we're doing this, great, and they're gone. There's no discussion about how they're going to deliver it. There's no actual planning going along beyond deciding stuff that's likely already understood. That leads to, more often than not, them tripping up in the sprint, them misunderstanding things, them uncovering questions that actually a little bit of diligence, a little bit of patience would have uncovered as part of planning. They realise they can't solve things. They realise, and I will hold my hand up as the developer that has been there, that the service that's absolutely there, there's no way it couldn't be, isn't there. But they never checked, because of course it would be. It's not. Well, that causes a problem. That causes some knock-on problems because things that could have been known weren't known because they rushed. And that causes knock-on events. Maybe those items get done, but other items don't. Maybe those items don't get done because you find fundamental misunderstandings or missing pieces. Okay? And you have to go back to your product owner, tail between your legs, and say, we didn't do a great job. So that's the first camp. They get in, they get out as quickly as possible. The ones that overstay their welcome, that second camp, are very often, they're doing planning, so they've decided what the work is. They come in and they intend to work out how to solve everything, but they've not yet learned how to plan with a reasonable pace, or what they need to and don't need to plan compared to what they have to do in the sprint. So a month-long sprint has an 8-hour planning time box, huge amount of time. 2-week sprint, you're looking at around 4 hours, is very often the case. 30 minutes or so deciding what to do, coming up with a sprint goal, 3.5 hours to plan how to do it, to really build a plan. Can be a lot of time if you're experienced, can be nowhere near enough time if you're not, because you're going to go into things in quite a lot of detail. You're learning how to work in this very compressed setting. And you run out of time. You say you can do these 12 things. You're at number 7, the timer goes, and they're the teams that go, oh, we're so close. They're not. I'll be honest, they're not. So they don't plan stuff that's coming up. They're actually, for me, in a better place normally than the teams that rush in and rush out, because at least they've done some planning. They've done some of their diligence. They know what's coming up. And, to be honest, they're unlikely to get to much of what they haven't planned anyway, because they're still working out how to work in this compressed time frame. So they're two of the things. The other one is, and really it sits outside of the events in Scrum, refinement. The teams that don't refine together, that don't refine at all. The teams that say, it's not our job. We're here to build stuff. Developers are terrible for this. We don't do that. Let the BAs do that. We just build stuff. We write code. They can't solve the problem because they don't understand what the problem is. So they rush through planning maybe, or they spend a lot of time in planning. Hopefully those realise that they needed to understand a bit better. But the people who don't do refinement well are the ones who in planning, questions suddenly pop up. There's misunderstandings. There's developers quite often arguing about what is meant by a particular thing. This is all stuff that could have been done and discussed and discovered in refinement before the pressure of a time box came onto them. And for me, that is very often where if they're struggling to hit their commitment, if they're struggling to hit their sprint goal, that is the first place I'm truly going to look. What does your refinement look like? How do you do it? Do you do it at all? Let's be honest. And work with them to say, it is your job. You have to understand the problem. You have to collectively have a good enough idea about what this problem is so that when you go into planning, you've asked good questions and got answers back, or at least you have confidence you're going to get answers to those key questions before the end of the sprint. So for me, they really, where I start looking, there are many things about team dynamics and things that we can dive into, but we're not going to do that right now. Early days, when a team is struggling to hit its commitment, its sprint goal, I'm going to be looking at planning and refinement, product backlog refinement. How are they going about them? Are they doing them? Are they doing them well? Are they giving them enough time? And if not, why not? How do we help them improve the state of play? And once we've got that working, we can check what everything else looks like. If you've got to this point in the video, I hope you've enjoyed it. If so, a like would be appreciated. If you want to hear more from me, more answers to questions that maybe you've got in the Agile world, please subscribe to the channel. And if you've got a question that you really want answered, drop it in the comments. I promise we'll get around to it. Thank you.